I just know my baby called me on the phone, FaceTime me, and she said, "Mom, help me." And by that time, he hung her phone up, and that's the last time I heard her voice.
"I'm scared." Those were the words 16-year-old Lauren Juma whispered during a late-night FaceTime call to her sister. Alone in her home with her mother's boyfriend, 60-year-old Van Henry Brisbane, Lauren sensed danger. Her voice trembled as she described his strange behavior, how he kept walking in and out of her bedroom, watching her. Hours later, Lauren's sister Karika arrived at the house, only to witness Brisbane holding Lauren at gunpoint. Despite immediately calling 911, the response came too late. As deputies approached, they heard Lauren's desperate screams for help, followed by 2 gunshots. Those were her final moments, a terrified teenager betrayed by someone who should have protected her. A bright young cheerleader with dreams of joining the Air Force, silenced forever by the person her mother trusted in their home. Lauren Juma embodied promise. At Nimitz High School in Humble, Texas, the 16-year-old junior lit up rooms with her infectious smile and compassionate heart. Friends described her as radiantly kind, the type of person who made everyone feel valued. Her days were filled with cheerleading practice and planning for a future in the Air Force, where she hoped to serve her country with the same dedication she showed in everything else. She dreamed of protecting others, of making the world safer. That April night in 2022, those dreams were extinguished in seconds. The man her mother had welcomed into their home, who had posed as a father figure, became her executioner. The cruel irony, Lauren, who wanted to protect others, couldn't be protected when she needed it most. A young woman with boundless potential never got to experience graduation, military service, or the full life she deserved. What transforms trust into terror? Lauren's story forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about safety within our own homes. When her mother left for work that night, she had no reason to suspect the man she'd been dating would murder her daughter. Yet something changed in him. Or perhaps his true nature simply revealed itself when the opportunity arose. How well do we really know the people we allow into our intimate spaces? At what point does odd behavior become dangerous behavior? These questions aren't academic, they're matters of life and death. Lauren saw warning signs and tried to alert her family, but by then, it was already too late. Her story asks us all, would you recognize danger before it becomes deadly? Would your loved ones feel comfortable telling you they felt unsafe? And most importantly, would you believe them immediately if they did? I want to ask you something personal today. Have you ever had that gut feeling? That instinct that someone your family trusted wasn't who they appeared to be? Maybe it was a family friend, a relative's partner, or someone who had access to your home. Lauren trusted her instincts and reached out, but tragedy struck anyway. Your comment about a time you felt unsafe could help someone else recognize warning behaviors in their own life. Maybe you noticed concerning patterns that others dismissed, or perhaps you were the one who took action when someone came to you afraid. Your experiences matter in this conversation. As we explore Lauren's story today, I encourage you to share your thoughts below. What made you uncomfortable? How did you handle it? Did anyone believe you? These conversations save lives. They're not just comments, they're potentially life-saving insights for another viewer. Where are you watching from today? Lauren Mckennzie Juma moved through life with an enthusiasm that touched everyone she met. At just 16, she had already developed a reputation at Nimitz High School as someone who genuinely cared about others. Teachers noted her eagerness to help classmates who struggled. Friends described her as the first to offer support during difficult times. Her warmth wasn't performative, it was who she was at her core. Lauren loved unconditionally, her father Sajjad recalled. She made an immediate and lasting impact on everyone she met. What made Lauren special wasn't just her kindness, but her authenticity. In a world where teenagers often struggle with identity, Lauren stood confident in who she was. She didn't follow trends, she created connections. Her community in Humble, Texas recognized her as someone extraordinary, not because she sought attention, but because her compassion naturally drew people to her. Lauren's ambitions revealed her character. While many teenagers dream of fame or fortune, Lauren aspired to serve in the Air Force, a goal that reflected her desire to protect others and contribute to something greater than herself. She spoke often about military service, researching requirements and training with determination. The discipline appealed to her structured nature, but it was the opportunity to defend her country, that resonated most deeply. When asked why the Air Force specifically, Lauren would mention the combination of technical skill and service that the branch offered. For her, a military career wasn't just a job prospect. It was a calling that aligned perfectly with her values. At Nimitz High School, Lauren balanced academics with her passion for cheerleading. On the squad, she wasn't just performing. She was building leadership skills and forging bonds with teammates. Her dedication to practice mirrored her approach to schoolwork: thorough, committed, and positive. Teachers described her as attentive and thoughtful, the kind of student who engaged meaningfully with lessons rather than simply aiming for grades. Lauren approached her junior year with focus, understanding that her performance would impact her military aspirations. Between classes, cheerleading routines, and community involvement, she embodied the well-rounded student that colleges and the armed forces seek: disciplined, spirited, and reliable. Lauren grew up in a complex family structure that included her mother Lauren, father Sajad Juma, and older sister Karika Harmon. Though her parents weren't together, both remained active in Lauren's life. The strongest bond was perhaps between Lauren and Karika, sisters whose connection transcended typical sibling relationships. They were confidantes, protectors of each other, and best friends. When Van Henry Brisbane entered their lives as Laurie's boyfriend, the dynamic shifted. Initially, he seemed to embrace a fatherly role toward Lauren. Her mother often commented on how Brisbane treated Lauren like his own daughter, creating what appeared to be a blended family unit. This evolving family structure shaped Lauren's worldview. She navigated the challenges of split households and new relationships with remarkable maturity. Despite these complexities, or perhaps because of them, she developed resilience and adaptability, qualities that served her well in school and would have benefited her in military service. Van Henry Brisbane entered Lauren's life through her mother, Laurie Young. At 60 years old, Brisbane was significantly older than Laurie, but the relationship progressed quickly from dating to him becoming a regular presence in their home. According to family accounts, the couple had been together long enough that Brisbane had established himself as part of their household routine and family structure. Laurie, like many single parents, likely saw in Brisbane a partner who could provide stability and additional support for her family. She worked jobs that sometimes required overnight shifts, creating a need for someone she could trust with her daughters. Brisbane filled this role, appearing dependable and invested in their family unit. What wasn't apparent at the time was how Brisbane's integration into their lives would ultimately create the circumstances for tragedy. The relationship seemed ordinary, a mother finding companionship while raising her daughters, hiding dangers that would only later become evident. From the outside, Brisbane appeared to assume a fatherly role in Lauren's life. Family members later recalled how he seemed attentive and caring, helping with household responsibilities, participating in family gatherings, and showing interest in Lauren's activities and achievements. He treated her like his own child. Laurie would later tell investigators, describing a relationship that seemed protective rather than predatory.
I will never be able to understand how he did something like this to Lauren. He loved Lauren, and Lauren loved the life out of him, how he could take her life from her.
Lauren, navigating her teenage years, appeared to accept Brisbane's presence. While details about their direct interactions remain limited, the family dynamic suggested Lauren had grown accustomed to him as her mother's partner and a permanent fixture in their home. This paternal facade created a dangerous illusion of safety. Each act of apparent care, driving her to school events, attending her performances, engaging in family meals, built layers of trust that no one questioned. The family had no reason to suspect that the man who presented himself as a guardian would become the greatest threat to Lauren's life. In retrospect, what appeared as normal behavior may have masked concerning patterns. While the public record doesn't detail specific incidents before that fatal night, experts note that perpetrators often test boundaries gradually, conditioning victims and families to accept increasingly inappropriate behavior. Lauren's discomfort on the night she was killed suggests she had developed some level of unease around Brisbane. Her immediate reaction to call family when alone with him indicates she may have experienced previous moments that made her wary, even if she couldn't articulate why. Common warning signs in similar cases include excessive interest in a teenager's activities or appearance, creating situations to be alone with the victim, undermining relationships with protective family members, establishing himself as indispensable to the household, gradual boundary violations dismissed as helping or caring. These signs often appear benign in isolation, meaningful only when viewed collectively or after tragedy has already struck, making them devastatingly easy to miss. Criminologists and psychologists who study family violence point to a distinct pattern where predators strategically position themselves as caregivers. What appears as attentiveness often serves as surveillance, explains Dr. Rebecca Campbell, who researches violence against women and children. The perpetrator establishes themselves as essential to the family while creating opportunities for control. This behavior typically follows recognizable phases. First, the integration phase, building trust with the parent and establishing credibility as a responsible adult figure. Second, isolation, gradually creating situations where the perpetrator has unsupervised access to the potential victim. Third, normalization, making inappropriate interest appear as ordinary caregiving. What makes this pattern particularly dangerous is its resemblance to healthy parenting. A mother might see a partner's interest in her child as investment in the family's future, while that same behavior serves a predatory purpose. The disguise is so effective that victims themselves often struggle to articulate their discomfort until boundaries have been significantly violated. The sequence of events that claimed Lauren's life began on Thursday evening, April 28, 2022. Lauren's mother, Lori Young, left for an overnight work shift, leaving Lauren at home with Brisbane, an arrangement that had occurred before without incident. The household settled into what appeared to be a normal evening. According to phone records, everything seemed routine until approximately 1 a.m. on April 29th, when Lauren's demeanor shifted from calm to concerned. By 1:30 a.m., Lauren had made multiple calls expressing her unease. Between 1:45 a.m. and 2 a.m., Karika began traveling to the house in response to Lauren's calls. Around 2:15 a.m., Karika arrived at the residence in Humble, Texas. By 2:20 a.m., she had placed the emergency call to police. Deputies from Harris County Sheriff's Office arrived minutes later at approximately 2:30 a.m. By 2:40 a.m., shots had been fired and Lauren's life had ended. As the house grew quiet that evening, Lauren began noticing behavioral changes in Brisbane. According to her later communications, he started acting strangely, entering her bedroom repeatedly without clear purpose, watching her in ways that made her uncomfortable. His presence shifted from familiar to threatening. Lauren, sensing danger through instinct rather than specific threats, grew increasingly anxious as the hours passed. Text messages recovered from her phone showed her concern escalating from mild discomfort to genuine fear. "He keeps coming into my room," she texted a friend at 1:13 a.m. The situation intensified when Brisbane began limiting her movements within the house. What had started as unusual behavior evolved into something more controlling. Lauren, trapped in a home that had always been her safe space, recognized that something was fundamentally wrong. Her growing alarm wasn't paranoia, it was a legitimate response to an adult's increasingly unpredictable and intimidating behavior. As her unease intensified, Lauren turned to technology for help. Using FaceTime, she first called her mother, who was at work and unable to leave immediately. The video call captured Lauren's growing panic, her voice hushed, eyes wide with fear. "Mom, he's acting weird," she whispered. "I don't feel safe." Lori, recognizing the urgency in her daughter's voice, instructed Lauren to call Karika next. Her maternal instinct activated. She told her older daughter to go check on Lauren immediately. In her subsequent FaceTime call to Kerika, Lauren appeared visibly shaken. She described how Brisbane kept entering her room, watching her. The camera occasionally showed her bedroom door, which she had tried to secure. "He's standing outside my door again," she told Kerika. "Please come get me." These desperate digital pleas for help would be Lauren's final attempts to escape what was unfolding, modern technology capturing her last moments of freedom. Kerika rushed to the house, arriving shortly after 2:15 a.m. What she encountered was every sister's nightmare: Brisbane holding Lauren at gunpoint inside the home. Without hesitation, Kerika pulled out her phone and dialed 911. "He has my sister at gunpoint," she told the dispatcher, her voice breaking. "Please hurry." While maintaining the emergency call, Kerika attempted to reason with Brisbane through the door, begging him to let Lauren go. Her quick thinking created an immediate record of the situation, providing real-time information to responding officers. The 911 operator kept her on the line, instructing her to stay safely outside while help was en route. The deputy's body cam footage documented the final moments of Lauren's life with devastating clarity. As officers approached the residence, they heard Lauren's voice, clear, desperate, and terrified. "Please, no!" Her cries pierced through the night air. The cameras captured officers drawing weapons, advancing toward the home with urgency. Then came the sound everyone dreaded: a gunshot, followed by momentary silence. Lauren screamed again, her voice now weaker. A second gunshot followed. Officers rushed forward, their cameras recording every second of their approach. Inside, they discovered Lauren's body with multiple gunshot wounds. The evidence at the scene, later documented in police reports, suggested that Brisbane had attempted sexual assault before killing her. Brisbane emerged from the house moments later, appearing resigned to his capture. The body cam footage showed him mutter words about having messed up, a confession of sorts captured permanently in police evidence that would later prove crucial during trial. Harris County Sheriff's deputies secured the scene within minutes of the shooting. They found Brisbane outside the residence and took him into custody without further incident, recovering the firearm used in the crime. Inside, medical personnel confirmed Lauren had succumbed to her injuries at the scene. Investigators worked methodically, collecting evidence including the recovered weapon, Lauren's phone with her final communications, and forensic samples suggesting sexual assault had been attempted. The home was processed as a crime scene through the early morning hours. Officers located Lori Young at her workplace, where they delivered the devastating news that her daughter had been killed and her boyfriend was in custody for the murder. The crime scene at Lauren's home revealed a narrative far more disturbing than initially apparent. Forensic teams documented blood spatter patterns indicating Lauren had been shot at close range. Her clothing had been partially removed, supporting the theory that Brisbane had attempted sexual assault before the murder. The recovered firearm, a handgun legally owned by Brisbane, contained his fingerprints and matched the bullets recovered from Lauren's body. Investigators found gunshot residue on his hands and clothing, establishing him as the shooter beyond reasonable doubt. Lauren's phone provided crucial evidence. Her final texts and call logs validated her mounting fear throughout the night. Location data confirmed the timeline of events leading to her death. Most compelling was the DNA evidence collected from Lauren's body, which prosecutors would later cite as proof that what began as inappropriate advances escalated to attempted sexual assault, then culminated in murder when she resisted, turning a domestic homicide into a capital crime. Prosecutors charged Van Henry Brisbane with capital murder, the most severe charge in Texas criminal law, reflecting both the killing and evidence of attempted sexual assault. The Harris County District Attorney's Office cited the heinous nature of the crime against a minor as justification for pursuing maximum charges. Initially, the court set Brisbane's bond at $1 million, later increasing it as the gravity of evidence mounted. He remained in custody throughout the pre-trial period, deemed both a flight risk and danger to the community. The legal process moved methodically. During preliminary hearings, prosecutors presented the FaceTime records, body cam footage, and forensic evidence establishing a timeline of predatory behavior escalating to murder. Brisbane's defense team attempted to portray the events as a domestic dispute gone wrong rather than premeditated violence. However, each motion to reduce charges was denied as prosecutors methodically built their case, focusing on the calculated nature of Brisbane's actions and Lauren's clear communication of fear before her death. Brisbane's trial began in October 2024, lasting 9 days. Prosecutors presented a methodical case building on the forensic evidence, digital communications, and testimony from both responding officers and family members. The jury heard Karika's emotional account of arriving at the house and her desperate 911 call. They reviewed the text messages, showing Lauren's escalating fear. Medical examiners detailed her injuries and evidence of attempted sexual assault. Perhaps most impactful was the body cam footage, capturing Lauren's final moments, her pleas for help, followed by gunshots. Multiple jurors visibly reacted to this evidence, which prosecutors described as undeniable proof of Brisbane's calculated violence against a defenseless teenager. After deliberating for just 4 hours, the jury unanimously found Brisbane guilty of capital murder. The verdict reflected their conviction that his actions were both intentional and involved attempted sexual assault of a minor. During the sentencing phase, Lauren's family delivered impact statements describing the devastating void her death created. The judge, noting Brisbane's lack of remorse throughout the proceedings, sentenced him to life imprisonment without possibility of parole. The sentence represented Texas's second most severe punishment, sparing Brisbane from death row, but ensuring he would never return to society. Prosecutors called the outcome appropriate justice for a young life so brutally and needlessly taken. The justice system worked as designed in Lauren's case. Her killer will spend his life in prison. But what about prevention? Could better systems have saved her life? I want to know your thoughts. Do you believe our current legal structures adequately protect young people from domestic violence? Lauren's case highlights how quickly violence can escalate when warning signs go unaddressed. Would mandatory background checks for adults living with minors help? Should schools implement better education about recognizing dangerous behavior? Many viewers have shared stories about reporting concerns only to have them dismissed until tragedy struck. Has that been your experience? Perhaps you work in law enforcement or child protection and see gaps in our current approach. Your insights matter. They might help someone watching recognize danger in their own home. Comment below with changes you believe would better protect young people like Lauren. What would you change about how we address domestic violence affecting teens? Research shows households with non-biological father figures face increased risk of violence. According to the Journal of Family Violence, teenagers living with their mother's boyfriend are 11 times more likely to experience abuse compared to those living with both biological parents. A Department of Justice study found that children in blended households face a 40% higher risk of physical or sexual abuse than those in nuclear families. These statistics aren't meant to stigmatize blended families. Most function without violence, but rather highlight specific vulnerability factors. The risk increases when the adult male has no biological connection to the child and when they've lived in the home for less than 2 years, both factors present in Lauren's case. Domestic violence rarely begins with obvious physical aggression. Instead, perpetrators often display subtler behaviors that escalate over time. Excessive jealousy or possessiveness toward a partner or their children, isolating family members from friends or other relatives, making decisions for others without consultation, demonstrating different behavior when alone with potential victims, violating physical boundaries with accidental touching, entering private spaces without permission, bedrooms, bathrooms, creating opportunities to be alone with minors, excessive interest in a child's developing body or dating life, undermining parental authority through gifts or special privileges, quick temper with unpredictable triggers. These behaviors become particularly concerning when multiple signs appear simultaneously or escalate in frequency. If you or someone you know faces dangerous domestic situations, these resources can help. National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-7233, 24/7 support. RAIN, 1-800-656-HOPE, sexual assault support. Crisis text line, text HOME to 741-741. Love is Respect, 1-866-331-9474, Teen Dating Violence. Karika's immediate response to her sister's call illustrates how bystander intervention can be crucial during dangerous situations. When someone reports feeling unsafe, taking their concerns seriously can mean the difference between life and death. Effective intervention involves believing the person in danger without questioning their perception. Responding promptly shows potential perpetrators that the victim is not isolated. Contacting authorities immediately rather than attempting to handle the situation alone increases safety for everyone involved. Creating a documented record of the concern establishes a timeline that may later prove vital. Though Karika couldn't save Lauren despite doing everything right, her actions ensured justice was ultimately served. Teenagers can strengthen their personal safety by establishing trusted connections outside their household who understand their home situation. Keeping doors locked when changing or sleeping provides physical barriers against inappropriate entry. Having a charged phone within reach at all times enables quick communication in emergencies. Learning to trust instincts about uncomfortable situations rather than dismissing them as overreactions validates personal boundaries. Creating excuses to leave uncomfortable situations before they escalate allows for safe extraction. Teenagers should identify safe public places they can reach quickly if home becomes dangerous. Understanding that expressing fear is strength, not weakness, encourages reaching out situations become life-threatening. Lauren's murder sent shudders through Humble, Texas, transforming how the community understood safety within their homes. Nimitz High School established the Lauren Juma Memorial Scholarship for students pursuing careers in public service, honoring her aspirations to serve others. The cheerleading team now wears purple ribbons, the color representing domestic violence awareness, during their performances. Local law enforcement instituted enhanced training protocols for responding to calls involving teenagers reporting fear or discomfort at home. These calls now receive priority status, with officers specifically trained to separate teens from potential threats to ensure they can speak freely. The community organized regular safety forums where teenagers learn to recognize concerning behaviors and access resources. Parents attend separate sessions focusing on vetting the adults who enter their children's lives. What began as collective grief evolved into determined action, a community refusing to let Lauren's death pass without creating meaningful protection for other young people facing similar dangers. Lauren's story resonates beyond her community as media features, documentaries, and educational programs continue sharing the details of her case. Schools nationwide use her experience in prevention programs, teaching students to identify warning behaviors that might otherwise go unnoticed. Her case appears in training materials for law enforcement, highlighting the urgency of teenage distress calls. Social media campaigns featuring Lauren's photo and story reach millions annually, connecting her name with concrete safety strategies. Her foundation's website receives thousands of visits monthly from people seeking guidance about concerning household dynamics. Through these continued efforts, Lauren's memory actively protects others facing similar dangers, transforming her tragedy into life-saving awareness. Lauren Juma's life ended at 16, her Air Force dreams forever unfulfilled. Her story represents countless young lives caught in dangerous situations they didn't create. Every achievement she'll never experience, graduation, military service, future family, serves as a reminder of what domestic violence steals from our communities. The most heartbreaking aspect of Lauren's case is how close she came to safety. She recognized danger, reached out for help, and still couldn't be saved in time. This reality doesn't diminish the importance of speaking up. It underscores the urgency of responding when someone does. Lauren did everything right. She trusted her instincts when something felt wrong. She called trusted family members. She attempted to create distance between herself and her abuser. And still, minutes mattered. For those watching who sense something isn't right in their home, Lauren's story delivers two vital messages. Trust your instincts, and don't wait to act on them. If you're currently in a situation where someone in your household makes you feel unsafe, please understand that your fear is valid. The National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-7233, provides 24/7 guidance, and many communities offer emergency shelters specifically for young people. School counselors, trusted teachers, or religious leaders can also help activate protection systems. For those supporting someone in danger, believe them immediately. Don't question their perception or suggest they might be overreacting. Your validation and quick response could save their life. Lauren's tragedy matters beyond her family and community. It matters to every teenager watching who feels unsafe at home but doesn't know if their concerns will be taken seriously. It matters to every parent navigating relationships while raising children. It matters to communities determining how resources should be allocated to protect vulnerable members. Lauren should be alive today, planning her future in the Air Force. Her absence reminds us all of our responsibility to protect those who cannot protect themselves. If this video impacted you, please like and share it, not for algorithms, but because someone in your network might desperately need this information. Subscribe to join our community, dedicated to preventing these tragedies through awareness and education. What other safety topics would help protect you or someone you love? Comment below with your suggestions for future videos. Your engagement today could save a life tomorrow.
3.